Hey Chuck, welcome to Automate All the Things. I'm so happy to have you teach us today.
Hey Aaron, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is really great.
So we've got a few folks in the chat who are regulars. So we got Colleen, Christian, welcome. Some new faces, Kevin, Dimitris. Appreciate you joining us today. I would love if you are new to Automate All Things, say hello in the chat. Maybe tell us a little bit about what you want to learn today. But Chuck, I am personally extremely excited about what you are about to teach us. So you are on the DevRel team coming out of Algolia. I think for most people, they have no idea who you are, what Algolia is. So give us, how about we start with just the intro into you and Algolia?
Sure, awesome. So yeah, it's really great to be here. I am Chuck Meyer. I am, as you said, Senior DevRel developer advocate
Right.
for Algolia. For those who don't know Algolia, we provide a set of hosted APIs that allow developers to build search and discovery experiences into your websites and web applications. So we're very developer focused. We have SDKs in a lot of different languages, and we do a lot of interesting things around code. So I'm really excited to kind of take those tools and start bringing those over into sort of this no code, low code world. I think
Right.
we've done some interesting things.
Yeah. So I think, folks might feel intimidated by a lot of the words you just said, SDK and multiple
Yeah,
languages. So I think before we jump into like the implementation, what struck me as we were working together is like I've used Algolia so many times, right? So maybe we start there and talk a little bit about what are some of the things that people use search for, and maybe talk about how they might have used it in the past without even knowing that Algolia was behind a lot of that.
absolutely. Yeah. And you probably have seen Algolia. It's really interesting. We have a little Chrome plugin that we use internally that shows
Mm,
us when a site is using Algolia and sort of the implementation that they have. And it's really fascinating for me to see. One place that a lot of folks that are in the tech community probably experience Algolia is we have a program that we call Doc Search,
mm,
where we provide search, a web crawler and some search capabilities to anyone that has open source documentation or is writing a technical blog.
right.
So a lot of the blogs that you go to, a lot of the documentation that you're going through, the search bar that you see in the top, you're probably going to see a little powered by Algolia logo. We're also a really big player sort of in the e-commerce space.
Hmm.
If you're using Shopify or BigCommerce or some of the sort of the turnkey solutions for commerce, we have integrations with that as well, where we'll automatically kind of grab your information and provide you with basic search experiences. We do a lot to lower the bar of entry. It's not just like, hey, here is some functions that you can write in JavaScript. We literally provide you with libraries that make it very easy and try and hold your hand as much as possible to get you up and running quickly,
Hmm.
but also give you the tools that if you are a little bit more savvy, you can drill in and really customize it and build something that's going to work well for you.
Yeah. And I think what I'm hoping that this hour is kind of maybe even lower that floor just a little bit for folks who
Hmm.
are like, oh, well, I love the idea of search on my website, of indexing all of the content that I'm generating. And I know in the Webflow community specifically, there is a lot of interest of like, hey, I have 1,000 blog posts
Mm.
or I have all of this content. But when I go to Algolia or any of these other searches, like it's developer driven. So what I'm hoping is that we kind of give people enough, both enough resources to get started, but also enough motivation and show them what's possible so that folks are like, well, amazing, let's build more on top of this. So I am
Yeah.
super excited. I'm also excited to maybe be the first kind of like low code website that Algolia powers search on. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the second or third. So
I feel like it's definitely early days. I definitely had to do some thinking to get this to work for you, so I'm excited
exactly.
to
So
show it off.
I would love to know in the chat if folks have some use cases that they came with of like, oh, I would love to add chat to my website, and I would love to kind of riff with Chuck here as ideas of how you can implement it. But we're gonna give I think, a pretty general approach that anyone
Mhm.
can replicate, and we're definitely going to give everyone the resources. So I'm super excited to jump in, Chuck. So if you're ready, I'm ready
Yeah, let's
to.
get into it.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go into the browser. And I think a good place to start was the sample website that you created. This is on Webflow.
Yes.
Chuck, talk us through a little bit about, what does Algolia own here? What were your kind of goals? And this will be kind of our we want to end up in the same place that you created here.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, just a little bit of orientation and maybe a little bit of vocabulary as we go here.
Hmm.
So to your point, Aaron, this is a Webflow site. I literally signed up for a Webflow account, but I feel like a week ago, maybe a little less. I chose this template. I thought this was a really nice blog template. You can see the content is very like Ipsum Lorem type stuff, but just started with a boilerplate template. And my knowledge of how Algolia works. Now, Algolia on the backside, there's going to be two places where we want to help reduce friction for you, right? The first is getting content from your CMS, from wherever you have it, into an index. Because Algolia is a managed service,
Right.
which means that all of your content actually needs to flow up into our service for us to index it and be able to do like the super fast search that we sort of pride ourselves on.
Right.
And then the second piece is we want to quickly get a search experience into your website quickly. And to do that, we have essentially a couple of different libraries that we use. One is called Instant Search, which you might have heard of. Instant Search is essentially uh, the the full screen
Right.
search tooling where you've got check boxes where you're selecting different categories and
Right.
sliders for pricing and all of that. So that's a really robust granular search experience. And then the other one we have is autocomplete. And autocomplete is the thing that's kind of really catching on. It's like that Command K experience where it just pops up a little text box and you can actually type into it and get pretty solid search results. And so that's what we're using here. And we actually provide a library for that, a
Mm.
JavaScript library called Autocomplete JS. And the cool thing about that library is what it does is it's a chunk of JavaScript that you
Right.
can include in your site that will go look for a div with a particular name or an anchor tag for folks that don't know a lot of HTML, but like essentially something that has been named a specific way,
Right.
say like autocomplete. It will go hunt that out in your HTML in your web page and it will populate it with this experience.
So,
Um,
Chuck, let
mhm,
me kind of put all of that together, right? So, essentially, for folks here, they have a CMS, probably in Webflow, and you're saying
mhm,
you need a way to go from that CMS to you, right? Using this example, so if I write coffee,
right.
so you have all of this data. You have the title, the image, the little text in your database, right? You call them indexes, if I'm under
Yes,
indices,
that's right. Mhm.
indices, and
Indices.
what we're seeing right now in front of us, the search, is that autocomplete library that speaks between the user and this website and that kind of database, that index on your side to return the results. So you're actually powering everything we see here.
That's right. That's right. So once this experience has popped up in front of you, every time you hit a key, it's sending a message out to the Algolia service with that information. The Algolia service is sending the best results based on the input that it's received so
Right.
far.
Yeah.
And every time you hit another key, you can see those results slowly change to reflect the more information that we're getting each time you type.
Yeah. Okay. So our goal for today, and I'm Stephen. I knew that you were gonna love this because you. So Stephen runs a podcast discovery network, and I feel like as you get thousands of podcasts, search on your website becomes important. It's hard to like surface
Hmm.
the right thing. Someone maybe wants something, anime related, and that's not a tag that you have, and you want to go ahead and let people search for whatever it is that they want. So, as someone who has a lot of content that is hard to find and hard to dissect and understand, Algolia, this type of search is extremely exciting. So our goal for today is going to be to recreate this on my website. So Chuck, I'll be honest with you, I'm selfish here. I brought you on to help me, build this on my own website, but hopefully in the process, we can show folks how to do it themselves as well. So our goal is
Yeah.
to come back here. So where do you think we should start? So it sounds like there's a step where we send you data, probably like a starting point where we're going to send you all of our current data from our Webflow CMS. Then maybe we like build it, see how it looks, and then think of, okay, how do I update that index over time? Would you say that that's a good approach of how people should think about getting started with this type of setup?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great because you have a practical use case already. I think that's a great way to do it. I think it's you always have to be aware of the fact that there are two pieces to it: the data coming in
Right,
and the interface.
right,
And if you're totally new or you're just experimenting, The cool thing is Algolia does have some data sets that you could go and plug in this front end and play with it. It
Right.
won't be your data, but you could see it. But because you have data already, I think it makes sense to bring that in first.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then again, I don't know how technical we want to get with our crowd. We can start saying things like JSON and
We
API,
JSON,
but
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I think you can get as technical as you want, and then when people
right
don't
on.
understand, or hey, can we take a moment? Please let us know in the chat. Really, my goal here and our goal is to you watch this and you're like, I feel confident doing this on my website. That's really our goal. And so yeah, Dimitri says let's get technical. Let's absolutely get technical. So
Right on.
I will maybe talk to you about my website, right? So
Yeah.
my goal here, this is my new this is I'm building this as we speak. This is my new. Let me make this a little bit
Cool.
larger, maybe. I don't know if it's gonna look good on the. Maybe that's a little. No, I'll keep it here. I'll keep it here. It's okay. And I want to add search for here. So essentially, if you go to automate all the things today, this is actually a really good example. I just let you scroll through 100+ streams. I don't give you any way of. I'm not helping you out here. So I'm actually redesigning uh, this whole page to both allow on-page search, which I know you enable as well, but my goal is to give cross-site search. So you click
Mm,
and you say, I want to learn about webhooks, I want to learn about JavaScript, I want to whatever, like whatever it is you want to
mhm.
learn, does automate all the things teach you. And so I think if I'm understanding you correctly, my first step is to recreate a part of my CMS in Algolia. So going ahead and saying, okay, I want people to search on streams. Let's go download this CMS in a CSV and do it a one-way send to Algolia.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of key points, Algolia specific points that I want to bring up
Sure.
as we do this, which is you said database earlier, and I just want to emphasize the fact that we're dealing with indices here,
Mm-hmm.
which is slightly different than dealing with a database. This is going to be your source of truth just for that very rapid text search.
Right.
So if you go into the Algolia documentation, we have a lot there around building out your index appropriately.
Got it.
And some things to keep in mind are everything you need and nothing more,
Right.
right? You don't need to bring all of your data over. Just think about what are the types of things that your consumer needs to be able to be successful,
Got
right?
it.
If that's the titles, if that's some sort of categorization, if that's durations, whatever it is, what is that stuff?
Yeah. So
And
let's
keep
actually take a
Mhm.
moment here. Let's actually identify that. If I go into my CMS, right, my page, my stream template, right? Let's go on something that's a
Mhm.
little more current, right? So let's say I know I did one recently called Learn Airtable in 60 minutes, right?
Okay.
So when I look at this, I think what's relevant, what I want to be able to folks to search on is the title,
Mhm.
the description, right? The CMS
Makes
description right
sense.
here. I would argue that just the title itself, the thumbnail, I would like the thumbnail to appear similar
Okay.
to how it appears here,
Right.
right? I think that's it, frankly, right? I just want this image. I want the title. I want a little bit of description. Eventually, and not today, I would like to include maybe the text that I
Mhm.
sometimes include, like the blog post. But I usually try to contain everything that's important in these two fields. So what I'm hearing from you is when I just downloaded this as a CSV, and I'm going to use Google Sheets because I don't have Excel on my computer. So
Okay.
let me import. Let me go ahead and import. How do I do that? So I go import, upload, and then I need to drag and drop. I think
Is he in there?
there we go. Let's import that. And so you're saying when I kind of transfer, I should only keep the things I want kind of searched on. So name, I
Right.
imagine the slug is important as well as
Yeah.
that's information you need to send back.
Exactly. I would put it classify it in sort of 3 areas, right? Might be 4 when I start listing them. We'll see how this goes. What do you wanna show the end user, right? So obviously the title, right? You probably need like some sort of URL or link because they're gonna wanna get somewhere
Right.
once they see it. What do you want them to be able to search against? And as we get more complicated, this isn't for today, what do we wanna be able to filter against?
Right.
right?
Right.
Like maybe I don't have a lot of time and I want to see only videos that are shorter than 15 minutes.
Got it. Or
So
popular,
those,
right? So maybe
right,
there's like a
exactly.
logic in the back end that says rank them by views. I might not
That's
show
absolutely right.
views or date, right? I might not show date, but I want latest. So let's
And that,
keep it.
that, that was that fourth thing that I forgot,
Oh, go
sorting
for
slash
it.
ranking. So
Yeah.
no, that was it. You're right. Yeah, you nailed it.
Awesome. Okay, but I want to keep it very simple because I
Mhm.
think for 99% of people, they're just like, hey, if I just return something and it's, very relevant, which you will do, that'd be super valuable. So let me kind of prune these. So collection ID, that is, for Webflow only, item ID as well, created on, let's delete, updated on, published on. We can all delete that. The cal invite title. I have a lot of fields. Wow. Stream date and time. We don't need that either. Stream description. We did say that. So we want name,
Yeah.
slug, stream description. Link to the video. I don't think we need because I don't want to link to the video. I want to link to my own page. I don't
Okay.
want to link out. So let's delete that. Category. That's some legacy. I'm showing everyone how unorganized my CMS is, and I'm very,
Now, one thing you do want to make sure you include
yeah,
is if you're going to be updating this index on the regular, one thing it does have in common with a database is you do need a unique ID
got it.
for each of your records, and we call that an object ID, capital I, capital D,
Right.
lowercase o. And so you do want to make sure that you pass on some sort of unique identifier. Otherwise, we're going to create them for you, and they're going to change every time you update, and you're going to get a mess in your index.
Okay. Can I use? So I would say for now, to be just for simplicity's sake, I never update my pages, right? So once they are,
They're in, they're in.
they're in.
Yeah, yeah.
And unless someone tells me there's a mistake or something I absolutely need to change, it hasn't happened so far. So I'd rather keep it simple. But eventually, what you're saying
Sure.
is that we could have an ID that comes from Webflow, which is the item ID, and we just say here's the ID so that I have a unique ID across my different systems.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right. So
got
you're
it.
gonna so basically whatever your ID is, you just need to make sure that that attribute that field name is object ID when you pass it up to Algolia,
Okay,
and then we'll use that as our ID too, so that there's a one-to-one mapping
okay,
between records. Really good for syncing.
got it. Okay, so we will skip that for simplicity's sake today, but
Okay.
I will think about how to pass it correctly in the next before we chat again. So we've got guest image, guest name, title, Twitter handle. I can delete all of these. Transcript, resources, video notes, video takeaways, video length, all of
Not gonna
that.
let us search your notes.
Yeah, exactly. Delete columns, featured. I might keep tools, right? So tools are the different tools that are covered.
Yeah, that could
Um,
be really good later or sometimes it's kind of fun to put that as like a little label,
yes, exactly.
right?
Like also,
Yeah.
this talks about, right? I think you
Yeah.
had this like,
There were some categories that were baked into the blog, and I think
right. Let me
I
check.
added that in. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so if you had some categorization, so music,
Right.
tech. So let's keep those and see if we can play around with that. Okay.
Okay.
So far I'm going to pass in the name, the slug, the stream description, the thumbnail, and the tools. I feel like that's enough for people to search on. So how do I bring it into Algolia?
So there are a couple ways to do it. The sort of canonical way, right? We are an API first company, so
Mm-hmm.
hitting our application programming interfaces is kind of the the recommended way to do it. Um, that's either with a piece of code or with a tool that can kind of integrate into that.
Got it.
Um, but that said, if this is a one and done, fire and forget, I have my CSV file, I have my data, I just need
Right.
to get it in. You can actually go into the dashboard and simply upload it,
Okay.
and you can do kind of a manual upload as well.
So I had already tested with an application, but I think for folks, they're probably going to start from scratch. So let's create a new Algolia application. We are truly
All right.
doing this from scratch.
And for those that haven't used us before, we have a free tier where you sign up and you can upload up to 10,000 records, and you can do up to 10,000 search transactions a month for free. So don't be afraid to go ahead and just sign up and start playing with it.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm going to call this live stream, right? And then, so data center, I want it to be US East, review
Mm.
applications. Perfect. I accept all of it. Boom. Let's create that application.
Uh-oh.
I've been
Are you
playing
a
around with
robot?
Algolia a lot. It doesn't trust me that I'm a human, which is great. Awesome. Okay, so let's create our index, which we're calling streams. So this is the what I'm sending over to you. All right, let's create that index. Boom. Okay, so we're going to upload our records. We're going to upload a file, CSV. Okay, great. Let me drag and drop. So I downloaded it from Google Sheets.
Cool. And that is, as you probably saw there very quickly, this is JSON is what it ultimately ends up being. So you can get fairly complex if with like arrays and complex objects and stuff like that. But from my experience, the flatter your data is, the more it's just key value pairs, the easier it's going to be to reason about and search against.
Right. So this idea that not nesting, but essentially you want to be one layer deep. So
Mhm.
you want to be like I'm looking so we don't have like slug dot and there's like other things that need to be
Right.
searched on in each uh field. I guess you guys call these fields attributes. You call it
We call them
attributes.
attributes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have records, which are
Mhm.
or objects. Do you call them objects? Talk to us.
We
Give me the we're in indices. Talk to me of what I'm seeing here.
Let's do this. I'll give you a quick tour. So
Right.
here we are, we're in the dashboard. So the sort of the way things work in Algolia is you have something called an application, right? Which is kind of like this
Mm-hmm.
the namespace you're working in. The
Right.
thing that you're in. So there's an application ID. Within that application, you can have multiple indices. So
Right.
you're looking at an index right now. The reason you might have multiple indices is maybe you've got one for customers and one for products,
Right.
or maybe you want to sort them in different ways or have slightly different configurations. And then each index is made up of records. And it's a little confusing that each record has an object ID, but what we do call these records, is what
Okay,
this
got it.
is.
Got it. So,
And
okay.
then an attribute, and then each one has attributes with values.
Okay. And how do I tell like I imagine Algolia's not going to necessarily search on everything I have here. So how do I tell Algolia for this application for this index, here are the attributes I want my autocomplete to. Is there some kind of configuration I need
Yep.
to? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of configuration we can do here. The interesting thing though is that by default, all of your attributes are searchable. If you start typing
Okay.
in that search box right now, you'd be able to search against anything that's there.
Right.
And then what you actually want to do is limit it. So if you look, there's a configuration tab up there, and
Y-
there's a ton of stuff that we can do in here. And this kind of correlates to what I was talking about earlier around data you want to display, data you want to search against, data
Wow.
you want to
Okay.
filter or facet against, and
Right.
data that you want to rank against. So the first thing you want to do is your searchable attributes. And again, it sort of fails open. So right now it's searching against everything, but now you can go and get more granular and say, no, I only want to search against the description, the summary, maybe the categories. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think that's it. I don't want
Mhm.
people to search on the thumbnail URL or the
Yeah,
slug. So
right.
this feels like the things I want to search. Now, we're probably not going to have time to go through all of this. What I would love to, Chuck, I
No.
hate to put you on the spot, but if folks are interested, I'd love to do like a more advanced if there's interest. So if folks are
Oh yeah.
interested, we could do a more like ranking, styling. I think that would be super, super cool.
This is frankly where the power comes, right, from Algolia. This is you start out with just text search, prefix text search against
Right.
a few fields, but then you start to get into custom ranking orders. And as you get deeper into this, if you start collecting event information, who's clicking where,
Right.
we can even help you with some machine learning to help you with ranking things appropriately and knowing that what your audience means might not necessarily be what the general audience would
Yeah.
think about, you know.
Okay, you've got people. So Carter and Colleen are already excited about part two, but let's get through part one. I want people to leave with like, okay, this is cool, but we can do even better.
Sure. Yeah, and
Um,
just know that all of that stuff, that is out of the box Algolia stuff. There are a
right,
ton of blogs over on our site too that you're welcome to come look at.
cool.
We'll talk more later.
Okay, so I've got it set up. I've got my so this is a one time thing. Like now, everything on my website is theoretically searchable. So I think
Mhm.
what's left, if I'm understanding you correctly, is how do we build this right here
Right.
such that we get a similar experience, right? So if someone writes Airtable, it'll go through the title, go through the description, and find relevant streams. So
Right.
how do I bring that? Let me go back to the all episodes. Here we go. So I want everything to live in this little div block that I've put right here.
Right on. Okay, cool. So that is as far as you need to go with sort of the front end right now.
Okay.
This is where this is going to live. Now, where this is where things would get really intimidating if you came over to the Algolia website, because we're going to send you to a getting started on autocomplete. And we're going to tell you that you need to install an autocomplete JS package,
Right.
a Preact package for rendering React components within JavaScript, the Algolia search client library, a bunch of different things. And so, what I took as homework before this, Aaron, was to try and reduce that to the minimum amount possible.
Got it.
Knowing that we're no code, low code, we're not doing builds, we're not installing things. I've set it up so that all the things you need are loaded from a CDN.
Okay.
And I was able to get all of the code to get a minimal experience down to about 100 lines of code
Okay.
that we should be able to copy and paste into here.
Okay. So I'm going to go here. So you're saying if I come here and I go into this script, so
Mhm.
you've put the HTML embed. No, it's over here.
The embed should be,
Oh, it's right here. Yeah. So can I open that
yeah.
up? Oh, got it. Okay.
If you double click on the embed, you should be
Oh,
able
it's
to
in the
pop up.
symbol. Okay, got it. So here we
Yeah.
go. And we'll
So,
include this in,
Mhm.
we'll include it in the description. And I'm happy to, actually, I can share this link right now if folks want to kind of follow along and add it to their own website. I believe this should work.
Now I will. So we are hitting an API in the backend. We're hitting a service on the backend.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's ever dealt with a service before, there's keys, there's application
Right,
IDs,
right, right.
there's some things that are specific to your data. So if you copy and paste that in right now, you're going to be hitting that same set of blogs. But we can at least get it in there.
Yeah, so I need to go ahead and add an HTML, where are we here? A embed into this div, and then simply paste out your code, right? And I think ideally, if you're okay with this, let's go like kind of at a high level, just walk people
Yeah.
through, maybe the buckets here, and then we'll adjust to match to
Yeah.
what we want to do. And for folks watching, if you actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you copy paste this code into your website and you name this ID
Autocomplete.
autocomplete, it'll search your website. That'll actually work.
Well, so what you'll get is you'll get a search interface that, yeah, it'll have the results from my site.
Right.
You'll see those blog posts, that same coffee and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's an important thing to know about Algolia as you're doing this experiences. This is a public API.
Hmm.
And as we walk through this code, well, let's start at the top, and we'll get to
Right.
that when we get to it. I think so. I'm looking at the 1990s dial-up AOL version of this
Oh, okay.
right now. So the quality's a little off, but I think the first thing in there is the style.
Let me try to zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
If that helps, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Is this better or is this worse?
It's the
Still?
resolution's fairly low, but let's not worry too much about it.
Okay.
And since we're just doing section by section, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first thing we're looking at there is a style sheet. Is that
Yes,
true?
that is correct.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a wait, 1 second. Let me do this properly. Let me see if I
'Cause I have a version of this myself that I'm looking at. So
Okay,
it's not a big deal.
let me do this. You should now have a screen share.
Technology.
If you make me unmaximize me, I'm now also sharing my screen in our little secret
Oh
chat.
wow, that looks so much better.
Great. Okay, here we go. The
Yeah,
debugging on the
that's
live.
great.
I also have this little cool thing.
I
Let me know if
love it.
people like this. I have this way of like zooming into my mouse. So people in the chat, this is new. You won't see it, Chuck, but people in the
Mhm.
stream, let me know if you like that little. I don't know if it works on YouTube. It should work. It kind of like, but yeah, let me know if you
That's
think
cool.
that cool. Okay, so talk to me about this code.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so again, there are four things that we're pulling in externally.
Right.
One is this style sheet, this piece of styling. So our autocomplete is sort of a self-contained widget component, whatever you want to call it. And we have some opinionated styling that you can pull in right out the bat so that you get that nice looking experience without having to do a lot. That's just the first thing we're pulling in.
Hmm.
It's documented. There are things that you can tweak on it. There's a small thing that we do tweak on it, but um, it's just a great place to start without having to build your theming from scratch.
Right.
And you can actually see this here. So one of the first things I do is the icons are very small thumbnails in the opinionated version. So I've changed this style, this CSS variable to say, no, I want those a little bit bigger.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Then we're bringing in the code. And there are three pieces of code here. So without getting too deep into it, the autocomplete JS, that is that Command K text input um, widget itself. And it doesn't have to be used for Algolia search. It works really well with Algolia search. We wrote it to use with our search, but you could have other sources in there. It could pull in things from any backend that you have
Oh, I see.
alongside your search results. So what we're doing alongside that, there's this Preact that just has to do with the fact that we're using Preact for folks that use front-end frameworks. Don't need to worry about it. The last piece there is that's actually the piece that connects to the Algolia search, right? So that's why there's two libraries. One is to build that experience, and the other one is to actually go back and pull the search results back for you.
Got it.
Okay. So once we've got all of that code in place, we have to initialize that connection to the Algolia service. And this is where you start to see some stuff that's specific to your website. Remember, we said that everything lives in an application. That's that app ID. And then there's also a key that you need for search. Now, this is a great time to go into the dashboard and start grabbing that stuff maybe from yours. So yeah. So I know first thing a lot of people do when you start talking about um,
Oops.
keys is, oh my gosh, like we actually have to surface this key in the front end. Like that's concerning.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think if you go down to the gear in the lower left hand corner area,
Oh, got it.
and then you'll see there's an API key on the right side.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay, I was going to
So
applications. Okay,
yeah,
so
and if you're on the home of the dashboard, there's an API keys right at the top as
okay,
well.
so I have a
So as you
search only API key. This is my what you
exactly
were saying around the front end.
exactly. So we want to make sure that we're using that search only key. This is a read only key. Just do be aware that when you put stuff in an index, that's a public index. People could grab that key. They can search against it.
Hmm.
That's the point, right? That's what we want. But just be aware of that as you're sort of thinking about what sort of stuff you want in your index. And then, yeah, the index name itself. So this is again like if you had a couple of different things here, this is your live stream index. So that looks good too. So now we've initialized that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're actually creating our autocomplete component. You don't need a lot of things to get this up and running.
Yeah.
The first thing you'll see is that we need to know the name of that div where we're actually going to inject this stuff,
Right
right? So
here.
that's actually what we're defining. That see where it says container, one line down, right
Oh, right
there.
here. Right here.
Yeah.
Huh?
So it's confusing because we're building an autocomplete component into a container called autocomplete. If your div
Right.
was called Dave the div, that would be hashtag Dave.
Would still be okay.
It'd still be
Ultimately.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need a way for the code to go find in your website where to put that thing.
Okay. Now that you can see, I'm gonna bring myself back to what I think is a reasonable resolution here.
Yeah, sure.
So essentially, what we're saying is that let me save and close. This embed, the div
Mhm.
above it, div block, right here, should be called autocomplete. Let me see if I already have
That's
that.
right.
Okay, let's call it autocomplete.
Or again, like Dave, whatever you want to call it. It just needs to match up with which
Right.
is in your code so that the two
Okay.
can pair up.
Oh, so I already have an autocomplete. So let's just call it Dave. Let's call it Dave.
Okay.
And then let me go back into that and let's call it Dave. Right here. Dave. Okay, great. Let me know
Now,
if this is too small. Maybe I can, for folks watching, I can, this should be better, but maybe I can just zoom in one more. How's that? For some reason, the navigation pops up. That should be better. Let me know in the chat if this is zoomed in enough. Okay, so we've set the container, and now it seems like there's search this blog. I'm going to search
yeah.
strings.
Now we're getting into sort of some more fun stuff.
Right.
So this is what's going to be in the box before anyone types anything.
Got it.
Some of this other stuff, this is just sort of some stuff that I'm doing to make it look good. Detached query, that just means it pops up that nice box in the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
screen instead of searching over in the corner or wherever it is. Um, and then we get into these sources, right? Now this is kind of keeping in mind that the autocomplete isn't 100% Algolia. right?
Right.
It can search anything. So this is where we're just tying it together and saying, no, actually, we've got the source called blogs, and it's going to be an Algolia search, and
So
go
here
ahead and
for
use that search
source
blank.
ID, should I be
Mhm.
putting in my streams, which is my index?
For the source ID, this is really just a way to sort of differentiate this from any other sources.
Oh, I see.
So
So it
you could
doesn't even matter.
streams, you
Okay.
could call it your index name.
We'll call it
You know,
streams. That makes sense. Like
yeah,
just for
yeah,
readability for me.
exactly.
Okay. Sounds good.
So then if you wanted to go and have like your I don't know, your tweets or something else
No one
searchable as
needs to
well.
read my tweets. No one needs to. I don't need. I'm happy that they are somewhat permanent on Twitter, but they are not like easily. I don't want people like searching through my tweets on my website.
Fair
But
enough.
streams feels right.
Now the funny thing is this could be even shorter. I actually have some things in here just to make this useful.
Okay.
Like you can see here, I'm doing attribute snippeting. This is
Right.
a function that we give you that says, hey, I know my names are going to be long. I know my summaries are going to be long. Let's just show the first 10 characters with an ellipse at the end in the
Got it.
results so that we're not crowding it out. You don't have to do that stuff. That's just like I'm trying to give you a little bit of value here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then so that makes the connection to the backend. It says, okay, my autocomplete is now wired into my search. Now the last piece of this is how do I want to surface that? How do I want to show those results?
Right. This
And
right here,
th-
templates.
exactly. So this is building out a template. Right now it's returning posts as the top there as the header. So you might want to call that streams, yeah, or episodes or whatever you want to call it. And this is literally what's going to show on the page in the
Right. This
results. Okay.
HTML right here. So
Exactly.
we're not going to edit this, but I feel like I'd love to not edit. We're not going to style it in a way. So you're saying we're going to take the like the way this is styled, but I'd love to like have you back and talk about styling it much more, right? So I know there's going to be
Absolutely.
questions in the chat around how do we style it. Let's keep that for if people. I'm curious what styling people want to do, and then if we have time, either this time or when you come back, we'll do some styling. But ultimately,
Yep.
this is out of the box. And what do we
Yep,
need to
anything with an
change here?
AA dash, right? Anything with an
Right.
AA dash is us. And for folks that are into to styling,
Mm-hmm.
we are big fans of Tailwind, and a lot of this is based on Tailwind, so
Got
it'll
it.
look familiar to anyone who uses Tailwind.
Got it.
So the things that we want to change here is anything that has that, that
This right
dollar
here.
curly brace,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all getting read out of the results that we're getting back from the API.
Okay. Let me.
And so it's always going to be item and then something from your record.
Okay, but if I'm reading this with my not somewhat limited, right? So just so I can map what I see here, right? So like if I go coffee, so
Mhm.
so we changed posts. Now I'm
Right.
saying I need to change the URL of this image. I need to say that this top is my description and sorry, my title, my name,
Title.
and
Mhm.
then this is the description. So if I map that to what I'm seeing here, this is saying, okay, we're going to have an image at the top. This is going to be the whole kind of section. Go ahead and link to the slug,
So
the and
this
slash
is
post.
this is the URL that you click to, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So my structure on my website is, if I'm not mistaken, let me actually figure this out. Actually, whoops. I think it's slash video. Let's save and close. Let's just go to a page.
Click on something.
Oh no. I haven't published that page. That's what's going on. Okay, let me just go to something. Slash video slash slug. So if I go
Cool.
back to the code, let's go into settings here. So if we go here, it's going to be slash video. Now item.slug. Now I learned the hard way that there is, we have to match.
Sensitivity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's go to search and let's see what my attributes, okay, slug with, right, slug like that. So let's go back here.
And that's a Webflow thing. Like I actually noticed that when I exported mine too. I just in my CSV file before I uploaded it, that very first line has all of the.
I
the
think that's a
attribute names.
CSV thing.
I made them lowercase.
I actually
Yeah.
think that might be just like the way CSV assumes that it'll like auto capitalize things. Because I know via API that is not the case. Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because I went ahead and I made them lowercase on mine because it just messes with my brain to have them
yeah, and there's
uppercase.
another
And
one
I think
here
there were
actually.
spaces too,
Yeah, so here is actually like capital slug. So that was a good
right?
catch right there. So here,
So, and this might be able to be cleaned up. What you can see, I have a link on the whole hit that we call them hits, the search
right,
results, each thing that comes back. And then I also have one on the image. We might not need both of
right,
those.
but
We
that's
can
okay.
figure it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So image is mapping to, so in my case, let me just do some paint by numbers here, is going to be thumbnail. So
Okay.
here we're going to change this to capital T thumbnail. Thumbnail. And then alt is the alt of the image, right? So this is the alt
Mm,
text on the image. I want to put my stream name. So I would
okay.
put name here with a capital N. Right, so let's go capital N. So for folks kind of following along, either now or in the future, hello people from the future, you're just essentially mapping this structure to the CMS fields that you've imported into Algolia.
Right.
Okay, what
And
else?
remember, the reason that we're doing that middle step of putting it in the Algolia index is we're going and we're building hashes around all of this data so that
Hmm.
you can get that lightning fast search. That's why we need that sort of middle step.
Right. So we have, okay, here, all of this I feel like is already configured, or do I need to
Okay, so
change?
this is
Yeah.
yeah. So this is what's happening here is remember we're using that snippeting thing to kind of truncate it.
Hmm.
And so this looks a little different. It doesn't have that dollar curly. Instead, you want to put your attribute here that we want truncated. So
Oh, right.
this would be your yeah.
I would
So
want my. So are you truncating the title or are you truncating the description?
I'm truncating the title because some of these titles are really long.
Okay, so
Now, again, we set the limit to 10. If you want to make that longer, you can. If you don't want to truncate here, you could replace it with that curly brace notation.
got it.
The one thing, well, we can talk more about that when we make it
Oh, and
get
here's
into the
another
longer one.
one. Okay, so here's where
Exactly.
we're truncating as well. So this would be stream description,
Yeah,
right? So we're essentially saying those are the two attributes we want to truncate.
that's right.
Okay. Let me copy. I have
And
a new
another
keyboard, so it's hard for me to
oh,
map my.
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid, but.
Another reason you might want to do that, even if you don't want to snippet it or cut it down, there's
Hmm.
an equivalent one called highlight. Instead of snippet, it would say
Right.
highlight. And that really cool thing where as you type, it shows you where in the line it shows up. You would want to use that highlight function for these things anyway, so that you could still get that
So
experience.
I will absolutely ask you some cool stuff for if people folks are interested. I would love to do that if we have time to see how we could
Yeah.
highlight what the word that is return, why are we returning that result?
But you're going to get that with the
Oh,
snippet
cool.
function. You're going
Okay.
to get that.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Um
And then I think there's one last place you need the URL down at the
we have
bottom
category
there.
here. We didn't change
Oh, shoot.
category.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Oh, yeah. This is that little label.
yes, I think I call it tools with a capital T. So, and then I see some text here, which is saying published in. So I'm going to call this tools featured.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, tools featured. So just for folks who are like, I'm lost in this code, you see this published in travel, published in music, published in music. So I want to say tools featured, Airtable, Zapier, so that folks understand what it is that they're clicking on. So are we missing? I just want to make, I think we're good here. Oh, right. Return posts. So this
Yeah.
is the URL. We want video plus item dot slug with a capital S.
Yeah. And for folks that are like, wait, didn't we do that already? This is for keyboard interaction.
Oh,
So for
got it.
folks that are just like hitting enter on their keyboard instead of clicking.
Got it. Okay.
And then that no posts, I don't know if you want to change that or if that seems right.
Yeah, no stream, no streams for that query.
And that is so that's literally anytime there's no results, there's so much you can do there.
Right.
Right?
It's
You could
true.
put
We're
your
just
favorite
returning
ones.
text.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually cool. Or we can even have permanent, right? Some stuff at the bottom
Yeah.
that is always there. I'm already excited about the idea of making this better, which is we should focus. Let's focus on getting
Yeah.
this one. Okay.
Right.
No, that's my bad. Don't be sorry. That's all me. I'm getting ahead of ourselves. So I am like 75% confident that this will work. How are you feeling?
Um, I'm looking at kind of the bitified version, but I'm feeling really good myself.
Okay.
I'm feeling really good.
Okay. Let me give it a last little look. There's nothing here that is from the original snippet name. What am I worried about? You're here. We'll figure it out. So let's save and close.
Okay.
So I have my ID called autocomplete. I do remember I had added another. I think we should be okay here. Nav menu.
Yeah, I think we should be. We're trying to go to Dave. So as long as you got
Oh,
your
right.
Dave
Okay,
div.
that's what happened. Is I had autocomplete on the HTML embed,
Hmm.
right? And now I have Dave on the ID that is included in the HTML embed, which I think is the same ultimately. Okay, so let's publish this.
Oh my gosh, moment of truth.
How are we
Let me
feeling?
take a sip of water.
Yeah,
I'm
there you go.
feeling. I'm feeling positive. How are folks in chat feeling? We sound confident.
People are very excited about styling and seeing it in action. So I am
Hmm.
super excited as well. So let's open this.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we've got the search streams. That's already a win.
Yep.
Okay. Whew. Okay, conference. Okay, it is not working, which is good. It's
Not
good.
working.
Okay, let's check in the console. Let's see what's going on. So console. Okay, so it says failed to reload conference. Index live stream does not exist. Oh, that's easy to fix. Okay, so I probably configured this incorrectly. So maybe I called it live streams. Let's go check.
Yeah. Check your dashboard.
So application, live
You
stream.
just called it. Your index is called streams.
Ah, I see my application. Okay, so here it should be streams. Whew.
Yeah. So keep in mind, like again, your application is sort of your container for everything you do, and then and then the index name is the thing that we actually need there.
Okay.
So let's see if that fixes it. It's I like that we've got a UI. That's good.
Yeah, that's actually exactly. So let's refresh here.
It's so far the way there. Come on.
Okay. Okay, conference. Oh, there we go. Look
There
at
it
that.
is.
How to run a conference
Boom.
using Airtable with column red. I think that's some confetti action right there. Congratulations to us. Very impressive. Very impressive. Okay.
And
What
I
else?
think we're still at 100 lines of code. And so the features that you have here, you should be able to navigate that with your keyboard. So after you type, you should be able to just start going down arrow down to the
Let's
different.
go fetch. Okay, then down arrow. Nice.
Okay, and then enter should take you through.
Yes.
Boom.
Wow.
And then if you go back, the other kind of little value add, the reason it's 103 lines of code instead of 100 lines is you have a command K
Yes.
or
Wow. I am actually pretty
so
cool.
yeah.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, because this personally, as someone who does this every week, like the biggest challenge I have is that there's like a nugget in the stream, right? So if you're like wondering about, like, I want to learn about JavaScript somewhere that I remember that we talked about, it is like impossible to find, right? So this
Right.
ability to search, like, oh, give me like, let's talk about webhooks, right? And then you can just search on the website. Let me see, webhooks. Right, and you have all of this like amazing.
Oh, and your tools are in there too. I love it.
Yeah,
That's
so you're
really
saying
cool.
like, oh yeah, we used webhooks in the Stripe invoices that we sent from Airtable, like, and I could even probably search like the transcription of the stream, but not surface it to the user, which again is like
Yeah,
super
absolutely.
valuable.
Yeah,
So
there's some tips and tricks there. That's actually something that we're talking about on our side. We're actually going to have a blog post next week where we talk a little bit about transcription ingest. There's some things you have to do about breaking up the records. You can't have the whole transcript as one thing.
right.
You want to chunk it up and stuff like that. Hey, the one thing I wonder if we could do really quick
Mm-hmm.
is I want your thumbnails bigger.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I feel like those 80 by 80s just aren't really popping. Can you want to try and see if you can change that in the
So
CSS up at the
we have
top so that
40 by 40 here,
so you do, but
and
I think what it's really pulling it in is that icon size.
oh, I see. So it's, you mean here?
Yeah,
Let's
so
make
why
this
don't we
120.
let's go for 120.
120.
See what that does.
I feel like we're two non-designers. like
I
trying
know
to
it's really funny. We're going to alienate every front end.
yeah, exactly. Who's like, what are you just using straight up pixels? Like, is there's no relative like, and just kind of winging it in terms of pixels? But
Right.
okay,
Like,
so
you have,
boom. Okay.
if that does it.
Oh, that does look. I think it's the ratio. I think because
Yeah.
we're 120 by 1. Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you think we can make this wider?
Ooh. So yeah, I'm sure we could, but we're gonna have to dig into the docs to do it.
Okay, let's not do it today. I
Okay.
think the
So again, that whole style language is the classic is all documented, and there's
got it.
probably a variable that we could go in and tweak for that, but I
Got it.
don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay. The last thing I do want to quickly, because we had kind of talked about this, but is how do we update the if I publish something new,
Oh yeah.
I want it to be automatically sent to Algolia. Maybe talk to me about how you think about it as like conceptually, and then I'll quickly show the way I solve this really quickly, and I'll talk about how I'm thinking of improving it, and that'll quite nicely set up a potential future where we do the styling and the updating in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we always talk about there's sort of two different mechanisms for ingest. There's the initial sort of like, just give me everything, right? And I'll just update it every time. And that works up to a point when you start to have a lot of records,
Hmm.
that starts to blow out pretty quickly.
Right.
And so a better way to do it is to sort of update individual records as they change. And of course, the best way to do any of that type of thing tends to be with a webhook,
Right.
right? So if your backend supplies some sort of webhook,
Right.
the best mechanism is to capture those events and then push things out to the API appropriately.
Got it. So a webhook that'll send like, hey, this record, this blog post, this e-commerce thing has changed. Here's the new
Mhm.
information. Go ahead and update the relevant object in the record with this object ID has changed. Go ahead and update it. So I did not implement that, Chuck, but I will show you really quickly what I did as an
Okay.
example. Is I actually sent it from Airtable to Algolia. So I wrote
Oh,
this
cool.
very short script that simply calls your API, and I'll change my keys after this stream. And I'll include this in the description. It's not the ideal way to do this because it is a manual click, right? But for me, who plans these streams, sends them to Webflow, this is actually something I can use to just update. So if we want to, I don't know if we have time. We have 5 minutes. I'm happy to give it a go if
Yeah.
you want to.
Let's
So
go. Let's walk through it. Yeah.
so essentially, let's imagine that I want to change your title. Whoops, that was not what I wanted to do. Let's go here.
Can you put an avocado in it?
I can. I don't know. I'm worried about. I can
Okay, we
say.
won't put an emoji in. We won't put an
Yeah,
emoji
yeah.
in.
Emojis are. I can change the title to avocado though.
Well, what do we call it? What was the original title?
It
Let's see.
was let's call it.
Let's
Let's say
search.
we want to call it
How about to
instant.
any? How about to any no code site?
You're
Right?
right. You're totally right. You're totally right. It's actually true that anything that embeds this will work. It's not a
Hmm.
Webflow specific. Okay, so I've changed that. This is currently tied to my AATT stream index, not the one we just built, but it'll work the same. So let me run this. I'm going to pick the Algolia, right? So let's run that. And it says, okay, it's been created. So if we go back to our index, I go into the AATT one. And you are going to be here twice because I had already sent you. So let's go.
All right. This is where those object IDs come in.
Yeah. So you're there twice. This is the one we just created.
That's
Right.
so cool, though. Look at that.
And if I can pass back the object ID, right? So just for folks who are a little geeky here, you receive the object ID. I've been too lazy to pass it back into Airtable, and I can just check whether it exists. And if it exists, it updates that object ID. If not, it's basically just changing this post for a put, and everything else will work just fine. But then the next step here, I think, is actually like every day at midnight, or checking if anything has changed and updating those automatically from Webflow. So I will leave folks that as either homework or as a future stream that we do together where we kind of go end to end. But I don't know about you, but the fact that we were able to build this in 53 minutes that works, amazingly well is
Yeah.
super, super impressive. And I am so, so excited to see what people do with this and bring it to the next level, because this is going to unlock so, so much for folks.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I mentioned this to you off stream, but I've surfaced my little 100-line autocomplete to some of our front end folks because again, you and I are not the peak of the front end mountain. And they're coming back with some ideas about things that we can do to make it better, be it cooler. We can add in things like search history,
Right.
right? So that your previous searches show up, recommendations, things that pop up when there's no results, things that pop up before, like, when you come in here with no
Right. There's
query,
nothing. Yeah. It's kind of
there's
empty right now.
nothing.
Yeah.
There's some opportunities there to show some things, to maybe give people some guidance about the types of things they might want to search for.
That's
So
amazing.
there's so much we can do even before we get into some of the higher level features like re-ranking and machine learning if we really want to get nerdy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me get back here. It was a true pleasure having you on, Chuck. Thank you so, so much for coming on, showing us honestly, my mind, I really, my mind is blown the fact that this was so easy and so quick. So huge thanks to you for coming. I
Oh, this
will
was great, Aaron.
follow up and see what we can do as a full package and showing everything that folks can do. Thanks to everyone who joined. Colleen, Carter, Robin, Demetrius, thank you so, so much for joining. I will see you back here next week where we're going to talk to Aron, if I'm not mistaken, from Clay around prospecting and CRM. But Chuck, one more time, a huge thanks to you. And as a final note, where can folks find you when they don't understand the code and have questions?
Absolutely. So you can find me personally on Twitter. I'm just Chuck M, ChuckM. Algolia, we have a discourse. So discourse.algolia.com. And I hang out over there and I'm always glad to answer questions.
Fantastic. Well, I will have questions for you. If folks have questions, I hope they reach out to you and build amazing things. I can't wait to see what everyone builds with this. Thank you again, Chuck. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. I will see you back here next week. Have a great week. Bye, everyone.